Guys, thanks for joining us so far. Love the shirt, Johnny. Big fan. Absolutely love it. Matt, again.
He's a Swedish grill master 76. He's dressing up as...
He said it's mackerel on the grill and not like Kobe beef or whatever, you know what I mean? He's flipping mackerel.
Mackerel and cheese.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here. I mean, this part of the month or this part of the tournament cycle is always incredibly exciting. Finally, we get our regions going head-to-head. Matt, the desk said it. The last time these two franchises played was 2019. I think it was a playoff game when New York won, but clean slate, as Danny put it. I mean, two teams that kind of came to the same conclusion about how they wanted to play here in the June Joust. Now get to face off against one another.
What are even the similarities between the teams? Like, the franchises are the same, right? But these teams have completely rebuilt since then. New York in the offseason, it's you saw like Monogo and Sabiel be Libero and Animo, like everybody besides Jonak and Bianca really kind of get let go. But they bring in a lot of young, talented players, and I think this is what they're banking on, is these players growing over the course of this season, the course of the year, and this is like a building block to a new NYXL type of dynasty where they were really good at the beginning of the Overwatch League. And I think so far it's like paid off, right? They're not the best team in APAC.
Sure.
I would say that. The APAC is very tough. But the fact that they're able to qualify for an event like this, I think speaks to where this team could potentially get in the future.
And, Jakob's got such an interesting story, Matt. He entered the lead under the Toronto Defiant, right? And didn't really make his mark. He actually ended up going back, and we'll call it sabbatical, that he spent in Contenders Korea playing with O2 Blast. He ends up getting a Contenders Championship, and he comes back here to the league, and he's looking for glory this time. The Atlanta Reign are exquisitely well positioned to succeed right now. Gator and Hawk look their best in the double shield setup. I think Hawk, he might hate dive, more than anyone ever seen. He loves to really set up with Gator. His Sigma is incredible. This guy, according to Watson, is ranked 4th out of 39. Despite the fact that these guys look like they like to play double shield, they can play anything. We've seen them. We've seen them match even the craziest of compositions. These guys are ready to roll, and I think they're definitely in the conversation as one of the two favorites to take everything away here in the June Joust.
I think the only thing you look at with the Atlanta Reign is, they never dealt with this type of spotlight, right? We've always talked about them being the gatekeeper team. Maybe they're not able to beat those top teams. Now they come in as one of the strongest teams, one of the favorites. So how do they play from that scenario in a playoff-style game? I think for them, luckily you don't have an opponent here at the beginning who has a ton of experience in games like this. Really, Jonak, the only one on NYXL at the Overwatch League level who does. So Lijiang Tower will be map number 1 here in the series. And I think this will be pretty telling of how New York tries to combat Atlanta Reign's playstyle.
Yeah, or if they even try and combat it, Matthew. Atlanta have tried both the Orisa Sigma, and they bring the Orisa Diva in if it has to be there. The Reign have showed us a ton of different things, right? We expect to see Pelican, who, by the way, is #1 in the league on duplicate kills right now on Echo. The desk talked about how aggressive he wants to be. The Reign look very well balanced right now, and frankly, the meta in APAC is really hard to follow. Like they got some wacky compositions. I think Custer sort of teased and said that he wanted to see New York sort of settle on one unifying style. Right now, we might get the Moira Lucio from them to start with, but even, the Wrecking Ball from Yakpeng will be an interesting mix-up here, and there's always potential for symmetry here on Lijiang Tower, Matthew. This is Atlanta Reign's pick as we're kicking things off finally in the June Joust.
Yeah, and the one thing to point out here for the Atlanta Reign is they have Edison in the lineup right now instead of Kai. We talked about Kai's just hit scan play at the top, but they'll opt for Edison here at the start. They've done this on their previous controls. So New York comes out with a Wrecking Ball as the main tank of this kind of rush, which is a very odd setup. Nobody else really doing this.
I'd be interested to see just to what degree the NYXL can harass the backline of the Reign, but it's actually Edison that goes down first. Flora is able to apply a decent amount of pressure, and in the meantime, Feather, I guess, in contrast, plays very safely towards the back of the pack. But the Reign, they come off decidedly second best in that first fight.
you know, the Wrecking Ball offers like more personal like survivability than Winston, even though Winston has the bubble. Still with the pile drive with the Wrecking Ball, being able to get the adaptive shield so you can last for so long. It's just a very odd composition. It's not one that, because the Wrecking Ball usually is off on his own, which is kind of counter to how you want to play with the Moira Lucio. This will be Coalescence at the start for both teams. Jonax a little bit later is Yakpung just swinging for the fences there on the middle pole.
Bianca gets caught without healing though. Looks like he gets burst out. It's Pelicans able to find him. Still, Edison falls again. Feather finds him with a focusing beam map.
And a Moira duplicate here for Feather. So he may get, he's going to get a Coalescence. And then Pelican, without the Winston to duplicate, he's actually going to duplicate the Wrecking Ball. So you'll see a Mines on the point. And it'll be Atlanta, who should be able to flip it off the back of that. Sound barrier used towards the end for the Atlanta Reign, so they won't have that for the next fight as Pelican takes that duel up in the sky against Feather, takes him out. But you know, for the NYXL, you have the sound barrier to engage in this next fight.
That was a tough fight, I think, there for Flora to do much, of course. He was, you know, in a tough spot without his Diva in the front line, and that might have been why we had a duplicated Coalescence to keep him healed up, man.
At the end of that, you had Hawk actually have to use his mech to get a new one. He actually used his self-destruct, so doesn't have that Coalescence there for Iris. Forces them back after that first pick-off. I don't know how you get like really good value out of the ball here. Like Yakpung goes in, he'll knock a bunch of players up, and now they start to try and go in with Jonax Coalescence.
Yakpung immediately has to be healed up on the Coalescence there from Jonax, so he doesn't have the opportunity to open with it aggressively, but Gator has already fallen here. And that's Flora, again, getting a ton of value from this Reaper. Definitely highlighting the round so far for the NYXL. That should be a pretty comfortable fight win here. Matt, normally we expect these fights to really drag out, to go long with these compositions, but both of these teams are actually getting individuals picked off so early that these fights aren't going quite as long as we expect to see them.
Well, it's quite interesting. If you remember back, you know, when Goats was so popular, you know, the one team who ended up kind of, you know, I don't want to say like ended Goats, but like would play well against it, was when Shanghai would play like triple DPS with the Wrecking Ball and the tank. With the teams playing so close together, you see with the pile driver how effective Yakpung can be. Maybe they want to try and use the same type of concept. This will be Sound Barrier plus Death Blossom used by the Atlanta Reign. They're trying to flip the point.
Yakpung tried to knock Edison away from his teammates during that Death Blossom. Unsuccessful in doing so, and Flora, man, that's an odd one, Matt. That is an odd Death Blossom choice.
Well, you know, you do have the Primal Rage used here at the end by Gator, so he just kind of laughs it off. He's probably wondering, what are they playing? But this
guy's chilling. He's wearing a lei. All of them are.
Yeah. This is what I was talking about, like how New York would find a path to victory. It's playing something like this that is effective, that throws Atlanta for a loop. So far, though, Atlanta's been dealing with it quite well.
Gator close to the choke here. He's a dueling Coalescences and a self-destruct. Flora has to use Wraith Walk early. That may be relevant in the coming moments because the NYXL don't have much time to wait. They've got to go for the point now. In plunges Feather. He's stuck with sticky bombs immediately, and then he tries to hit that backline. But who's he looking for? Initially, it looked like he was trying to shut down the enemy Reaper. Now it's whoever he can get the attention of, but it's Pelican to fall first. Dronak finds that kill. Feather with a remech there, and it's the Reign falling apart just as they're about to win the round.
Right, so NYXL will flip it. With the percentage that's on the clock now, this will probably be final fight. Both teams with a sound barrier. Jonak a bit closer to Coalescence. But let's keep an eye on the minefield from Yakpung. How does he decide to use it here towards the end? Could really be a deterrent for the point.
Edison TP's in big early hit there on Flora, but he goes for a Wraith Walk, maybe buying time until the sound barrier comes through. It does come after all, and Edison holds on to the Death Blossom. He saves it for Flora. Revenge serve cold in this particular case, but it's traded out. Feather finds the kill. On the point, that's a self-destruct. Pelican getting value out of the duplicated Diva mech there to create a bit of space, and Gator's there with the Primal Rage. Bianca forced out of mech, won't be able to get back in either. And it's going to be tough for Friday to touch the point at all. The Atlanta Reign play it close in this first round, and it goes about as long as it could have, but the Reign come out on top.
A bit closer than I think people expected, though. With the way Atlanta has been playing, I think a lot of people expected them to come in a roll, but New York quite competitive there in our first round of Lijiang Tower. We'll see what they decide to play as this map and series goes forward. Is you can't play Wrecking Ball on every single map. You're gonna have to play whether it's gonna be the Orisa compositions they've been playing.
Have you met Yeedle?
Yeah,
Have you met Amon?
Or Amon? Yeah, I mean, look, well, neither of these.
Have you met half the T3?
Chengdu not here in the June Joust tournament towards the end. So they'll play ball again, as this is traditionally this has not been a great Wrecking Ball point. This is one, if they wanted to play slow with the Orisa, you would, as the Atlanta Reign are.
Flora tries to go early to actually destroy that teleporter, I assume. He TPs onto the high ground just to be ready for it, but he can't get rid of it in time, so the Reign get what they wanted. They're set up on point here, and they have some turrets. Notice those 3 pesky turrets that have set up. Some of them are getting blown up just by sticky bombs being applied to the door frames, but the NYXL are grouping up here. It's going to be the Winston comp versus the Orisa variant with Pelican on the Doomfist. Yakpun takes an absolute shellacking early in this fight. Very clever repositioning from Pelican there, using the teleporter outside of the way is usually intended, and he's able to snatch up Feather before returning to the point, forcing fade from Jonak. Otherwise, he would have been squished.
And this is where NYXL has struggled at times throughout this season, is they haven't been able to play with this fast tempo. The desk kind of talked about it. I think Yakpung is struggled at times getting on the same page with the rest of the team, the supports specifically, on how to play when they go with the Winston-based comps. That's why they look so good with a little bit of slower play style. Maybe with the ball with a more individualistic play style as well from the tank. He gets halted. He gets halted immediately and taken out. No chance for him to survive that.
Adds the extra threat when you're dealing with the Reaper, man. If you get held in place, that's more than enough time for the Reaper to go to work on those tanks with the Hellfire shotguns. A hasty retreat here for the Reign as, Jonak tries to turn the fight. It looks like it works. They catch Pelican. Fade had to be used there by Iris, and that's a self-destruct to catch Yakpung, but it's a very messy try and turn around here from the Atlanta Reign. New York will have the point at about 48%.
I'm surprised they invested in that, because it didn't look like they were going to be able to turn that around, but they had the advantage in terms of coalescence. Jonak had it at the time, Iris didn't have his up. And they did have some players weak, because Atlanta was chasing those kills, pushing on forward. So a really nice read from the NYXL. I don't think Atlanta expected them to invest and kind of come back into that fight.
Pelican, rocket punch. He just tries to bait a bit of action. Now we'll try it again. No dice this time around. Doesn't really want to tangle with the Echo and is forced to pull the plug here. Meteor Strike puts him back into the fight. It's going to be a Death Blossom there from Flora. It's just the one. Edison with one as well. It's Friday to fall now. Bianca getting pressured heavily on the point. Tries to hide behind the self-destruct as he fires it off. And that coalescence looks pretty darn sad from Bronak, who's going to be forced to play from the vestiges of the point now, Matt.
As NYXL just trying to stall this out a little bit more. Jonak will get on the point. And this will be Atlanta to flip, as it looked like Feather was trying to get on and touch. You had some other players coming back for NYXL, but they get it up to 44%. They invest everything there to try and hold on to the point. And I think this is, if you're the Atlanta Reign, you love to see this. If they feel they can force like mirror matchups with these types of compositions, and then even slower ones, you feel great about Atlanta in this series.
Atlanta have had to tangle with this composition all through their matches in the Western region. They're in the minority in terms of wanting to play double shield, so they're ready for this. Here it goes, Coalescence from Iris. Feather not in a great spot to get any value here. Tries to TP forward. He would have had a Death Blossom there as well, but he gets taken out of that. Hawk's going to find him in the air as well, and that's Feather's wings clipped.
That is such a beautiful play from Hawk. He realizes that Feather's off to the side on his own, flies up, takes him out. This will be sound barrier for both teams. So Flora does get the pick there onto Iris, so that's pretty big, getting the Moira out of the equation.
Gator down to the primal range of Yakpung though. He's going to throw a bubble on himself. Pelican dives into the bubble so he can get the duplicate. Flora's forced to Wraith walk away from the Death Blossom, but Yakpung and Friday don't have that kind of luxury. Flora's going to be able to get just to one, and that'll be it. Feather again has to work in from the outside, and Bianca tries to pressure down Iris, but the Biotic Orb already did the work. It heals the Moira back up. Pelican beams Feather down on the outside of the point, and that'll be Bianca down to the sticky bombs. That will do the job. Atlanta Reign starts strong here, and they clock one up for Lijiang Tower.
I think when Atlanta can play those types of compositions and New York mirrors, I think Atlanta has a huge advantage in that matchup. I'm interested where New York goes next, because they don't really have, an advantage here where, they can go and pick, a map where they can play a little bit slower, because Atlanta will play that style as well. Pretty difficult matchup in terms of style here for New York Excelsior.
No doubt about it. They're going to have to overcome that particular hurdle. They'll get to choose the very next map, Matthew, so that's something. NYXL now rack the brains and try and come up with something to stump the rain. Stick around and we'll be back in a few moments.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Indeed, we help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
He entered the Overwatch League as a rookie in its inaugural year, 2018. Pretty much an unknown quantity. Very quickly that changed, and now a household name is Jonak, the subject of our Indeed player resume here in his first match. Doesn't exactly get to strut his stuff on Moira, Matthew, but I feel like these credentials speak for themselves.
Yeah, you look at all the other flex supports in the league and how that role has changed over time. It really starts with Jonak. I mean, remember the inaugural season of the Overwatch League, how much of an offensive force he was on the Zenyatta. And it's really laid the blueprint for a lot of other players coming into the league. I think that's why you see so much firepower at that role. It'll be Kai now who comes in for Edison. This is a change that's pretty consistent for the Atlanta Reign. And the map that New York has decided to go to will be the Temple of Anubis for the next map.
Absolutely. And we know that always signals a change towards something that's hit-scan focused, Matt, like has talked about, and Kai is extremely dangerous on that role. We see Edison every now and then. You see he's pretty solid when it comes to that Reaper play, but many have been saying that this is probably the scariest form that the Atlanta Reign come in right now. And quickly back on circle back on the Jonak topic, it's crazy how many players said they wanted to emulate his style back in Season 1, right? So many Zenyatta players, so many Ana players said, man, I really want to have the impact of like a Jonak or a Jaehong. I really want to, strike fear into the hearts of the enemy team while also healing my own. And that was what Jonak was really able to do as an example. Again, we said that, with the Moira compositions, that can be a little bit harder to do, but we know that the NYXL have actually been toying a little bit with the Brigitte here in their double shield and a couple of other setups. Let's Jonak look a little bit better here on the Baptiste, where he really outputs some incredible healing. It's statistically a shame, though, because the NYXL have not been able to convert that into quite as many teamfight wins as Atlanta have, even with Iris getting less of that sort of team healing per 10 minutes, Matt.
Yeah, well, we haven't really seen a meta that Jonak's been able to go back and play that Zenyatta in a very long time, right? It's really been a lot about Moira, Brig, Baptiste, Ana. Throughput. Yeah, his throughput really kind of became king. So for NYXL, they'll play double shield on defense. Friday will be playing the Mercy to pocket the Ashe and the Echo. Sky will probably play Ashe here. Actually going to bust out the Hangzhou, try and get some of that high ground control.
You get an off angle here to pressure the defending position with. You can play on this arch or even on the left-hand side, right? Just peek over cheekily every now and then. I don't know. Watching Hangzhou in this position, it always feels inevitable that eventually they just break through with sheer front-loaded damage available. And the NYXL don't even want to hold this high ground, man.
Yeah, they give this is wild. That is so odd. That typically you see teams, they will stay on the bridge and fight for this bridge control.
They're so defensive.
NYXL will drop back to point.
Oh, it hurts them, Matt.
Yeah, as Kai is able to just get a pick on a Flora who's sitting up top. It's very difficult though. Like, they're not really getting much value out of their shields here.
No, the res is already burned early in the fight here. The Rangers start leaning into the point. They create a lot more space for Kai to do his work. They can't peek out with the amplification matrix in play. They've got one of their own now. A lot of that gets kinetic grassed up by Hawk, who just plays around that left side corner. Jonak wants to do some damage here, but the Reign have made themselves scarce after getting 99.1%.
They're at 99%. Feather will get both tanks here, which is the saving grace for NYXL potentially. Because you have 2 kills returned on the other side, and then Hawk will get a res. So maybe if you're Atlanta, you're able to do something out of this.
Yeah, I mean, Hawk gets rezzed into an off angle, and Pelican replaces Gator now, duplicating this Orisa. Dragon Strike, I don't think that Yakpung was ready for that at all. He turned his back on the Dragon Strike, and he gets punished as a result here. The Reign were ready to play.
Masa with a kill on a Flora goes up to the high ground, takes out the Ashe, and then gets in a Mercy battle. But for NYXL, I actually think they have a composition you can play really well here on Anubis. I actually like what they're running. I just don't think you can afford to give up that type of map positioning so easy, like without any type of push or pull or fight, exchange of damage. They just kind of give it up 100%.
They're scared of the Hangzhou, I think. They just don't want to deal with Kai in an off angle where they can't keep track of him, I feel. It does seem very passive, right?
But if you play that passive and you drop to the point, as the Ant Matrix will come in, Supercharger here as well. Why even play with the shield? It's like nobody getting any value out of it there. You're just kind of playing bunker on the point.
Yeah, you're playing inside the room. Masa, okay, asks for a little bit too much there. Brings Pelican back into the fight, but gives up his life in exchange. Feather now has a decent little off angle. Is going to copy. Oh, that's a big halt, and yes. No one from the rain is going to be leaving this room unscathed. Not a chance.
That was really nicely played by Feather even before the duplicate. When we were on board with Masa and he was thinking about going for the res, he knew that Feather was there because he had picked up that kill. And Feather just kind of waits, I think, for the sound cue and then comes around the corner and goes for the kill onto Masa. So really nice play there from Feather, as you still have potential to hold here for NYXL. You know, 330 goes really quick, especially with these double shield slow compositions on Anubis.
You have Gravitic Flux, Dragon Strike. You'll still need to contend with that Immortality field, but the Rain are definitely hoping to set up something big with that. Yakpong's forced to take the Mega. Shouldn't be a factor, as it should be able to respawn pretty quickly. Kai, let the Dragon Strike go there. They don't really combo that with the Gravitic Flux, but Hawk uses the Dragon Strike, positioning how it funnels the NYXL into that right-hand side to try and get some value there, and it works out. Yakpong eventually falls. Bianca was brought back into the fight, but there's no Orisa right now here for the NYXL. Pelican actually playing a pretty safe spot. You don't want to Gravitic Flux that of your Bianca, because you're only getting a duplicated Ash who can just fly away as he becomes Echo once more, Matt. Kai's brought back into the fight, and Friday's down.
Yeah, as NYXL, they're just trying to keep this going. There's not really a great path for them to take this point back, as Feather will take out Pelican. You do have Floor getting you know, some damage
Pulse.
in, but can they keep going on this? Bianca will get on, Friday will now get on. I don't think they're going to have enough time for anybody else to get a touch, so that'll be it with 2 minutes and 29 in the time bank for the Atlanta Reign. And like you mentioned, they set that up perfectly. So they shoot the Dragon across. It splits off the NYXL, forces them into that back right corner by their spawn. But you have Hawk and Pelican playing on that side. And Hawk raises them up with the Gravitic Flux. And then after that, you have Pelican in a position where he just looks up, he sees one player's weak, focus beams him down, you have the other damage that goes down on everybody else. And they also have like an Ant Matrix playing at that cross angle as well. And beautiful setup there for Atlanta to be able to take the point.
Pelican playing so deep is Ash there, really aggressive. Despite Ash's tendency to prefer to play back there, but you know, we see Bianca go up with the Gravitic Flux, and there's no way he's going to hit the Ash with it. So much free damage there for Pelican, who is, as was pointed out earlier, the more aggressive, really wants to go deep here on this Echo, stretch it to the very limit. But he has Kindness final moments, of course. This is Bianca just getting blown up. That kill on Friday is huge. He can technically stall for a few seconds. That would have given time for Yakpong to actually get back on the point. But the Reign, be pretty happy with that, Matt. 2:29 in the time bank.
Yeah, and we'll see what NYXL decides to do here on offense. As Atlanta set up on D, they'll play that double shield. They'll match this if New York wants to play it. I do want to see, though, if Atlanta gives up that bridge as easily as New York. What we've seen from Atlanta in the past is that they won't give that up. They'll play pretty strong for that area of the map. As see if New York decides to stay on this. So this is okay. They'll actually
Florida doesn't want to play Hangzhou
comp. Interesting. So this is a different look from NYXL. We haven't seen them opt for this. They played. We were talking during the commercial break. This is a map where we've seen them even play Orisa Zarya. There's not many teams in APAC have played like this style of rush. A lot of teams have opted for different variations of things. NYXL picking it up, though, trying to play it here versus Atlanta.
We see Gator just throw the shield down, say, you bloody beauty, all right, we'll deal with this dive composition. We'll hold our ground here on the high ground. That means the NYXL right now, ladies and gentlemen, are playing for coalescence. They're going to build it up. There'll be plenty of poke damage here to allow that to happen. Friday probably just keeps speed on. You see he's not going to be healing, cannibalizing Jonak's ult charge. However, once Cole is in, then he can boost healing as much as he wants as they get into the fight. Here they go. That Coalescence get fired up, but Jonak gets knocked off course there by the Halt. It makes it hard for him to keep the players under his scrutiny, and that Immortality field is a perfect time buy for Iris. It's still not enough for the Reign to stay alive, though, because Flora gets deep and finds both tanks.
And NYXL, that was beautifully executed. That's what a lot of teams decide to do. You farm up that Coalescence, and then you push in behind it. Is Kai, though, up on the high ground. He'll have a Bob, and he's going to decide to drop it there. You do have Iris here. This would be a crazy turn of events, though, for the Atlanta Reign.
All right, self-destruct goes off there. The shield of Yakpong actually blows up just a little after. There might have been something there, perhaps, but decent time by. The Atlanta Reign actually have some reinforcements to come back in with now. Hawk is just trying to dip his toe in ever so slightly, but Flora chomping in the bit every time an enemy shows himself. He's there on that Reaper, punishing them. And this is one of the reasons why, Matt, I think, unrelatedly, Dallas is looking like one of the best teams right now. Because when that Lucio Moira comp works like that, it rolls over the double shield. There's no time to respond if you're playing Orisa.
And the NYXL is going to try and snowball this. They're going to have their own Coalescence. This is an Ant Matrix that comes in from Iris.
Here we go.
Beautiful TP there from Flora.
The Reaper Copter lands just outside Atlanta Reign's spawn. Masa dips out briefly, brings back Iris. Really key resurrect there, as Iris was a few seconds away at least, and they'll have another Immortality field in a few moments. The Brigitte from Masa. And there's going to be a McCree here for Kai. Defensive pick, trying to deal with this aggression coming at their spawn. Jonak's able to find Master, though, with the Biotic Orb. And Feather is not going to let them out of the door without a heavy toll. He's in a duplicated Diva. It's all house money that the NYXL are playing with. And my God, they make that push comp look good.
That was so well executed there from NYXL. A little bit surprised, like kind of taken back by it, because like we mentioned, this is something that we haven't seen them run a ton of. It's something that in APAC, we've seen teams, pull it out sparingly at times, but, not the main composition that teams are going for. And it was definitely a worry and a concern that we talked about it a little bit this week on, Pod Chat, especially for like a team like Shanghai, who we haven't really seen play, that Winston-based, Moira, Lucio Rush at the level of some of the teams like Atlanta or Dallas, but New York coming out early and showing some different looks, right? They played the Wrecking Ball there on Lijiang Tower. They then tried to play some Winston. It didn't look good on Lijiang Tower, but here on Temple of Anubis, that was very strong.
I mean, it looked pretty formulaic in that fight as well, Matt. The Coalescence was built by Jonak, and the Reign try and use an Immortality field to buy them time to heal up. They can't. They get crushed by Flora in their backline as Reaper.
Well, to be fair, I mentioned that they didn't look great on it on Lijiang Tower. That is in the mirror. This was playing that rush into the double shield, the very static composition. What I love to see from New York here is not give up this bridge. Do not fall back to the point. That gives Atlanta Reign so many avenues to take high ground with the Echo and the Hangzhou and just force you into the health pack room, just
and I feel like
you up, shut you
giving
down.
up the bridge gives them nowhere to play with this Ash map.
They're going to play
this.
Yeah, they're going to play for the bridge this time with the way they're positioned, because they're actually playing the Ash down on the bridge.
Big hit there taken by Flora. Probably a wayward arrow from Kai if I was a guessing man. That's a hold there. Yeah, easy shots for Kai. So, whichever way you sliced it, it looks like the NYXL struggle on this first point defense, Matt.
Yeah, just it seems like they're just not in sync of when to go, when to pull back. It seemed like they're Bianca and Flora not really in position to capitalize on any of that, but they started to push in with the Orisa, and then a halt comes through, and they get taken out pretty quickly. Is not the end of the world for New York, right? You do have 3 minutes and 40 seconds in your time bank, but you don't want to get in this situation where now Atlanta, starting to build up towards some ultimates, can take the second point here.
Yep, the risk of there being some sort of snowball is real. The NYXL need to be ready to double down and play that defensive style they are so known for. Amplification Matrix forces them out of line of sight, but that's exactly what Pelican wanted. It's sticking them to the back corner, Matt. That's the NYXL because they disengage to this part of the map, and it's all to Atlanta Reign's plan. That's where they want them to run to. Kai gonna play in main there. I mean, Yakpong had to use that Fortify or he would have died. He was less than half HP inside the Gravitic Flux, and Pelican drops him anyway. Duplicated Sigma comes up for 2 kills, and that's 1 tick already for the Atlanta Reign. It's a nice Bardic Grenade from Jonak here, and great to see a reprisal of his role on the Ana, but doesn't look nearly as good without any teammates to back him up, man. This is a disaster for New York.
this is brutal as Yakpung will swing his way onto the point. You'll probably have Flora here trying to get a touch, but he gets taken out. This is bad news here for the NYXL, as they have a great offense. Their defense here in OT, and Atlanta's able to finish with time. That is brutal. That's a huge comeback for the Atlanta Reign. This team, I think one of the questions was, can they battle back against adversity in a series like this? Coming out there after losing pretty handily to New York on their attack. It's a good thing to see if you're an Atlanta Reign fan.
And every time Atlanta push point beyond attack, Matt, they do something, anything. Dragon Strike or Amplification Matrix to force NYXL into the back right corner of the map towards their spawn. That's where there's a gravity flux. That's where there's like a pelican pouncing with all these sticky bombs, right? They're always just corralling NYXL together in that corner and punishing them.
Yeah, I'd love to see where those pelican sticky bombs come from. I wonder if there's like an angle, what they use that Amp Matrix in the initial choke that he's able to see towards that back right angle.
It was the right alleyway. I think he was just airborne on like where we're looking right now. We don't get to see it. This is that Sigma duplicate that's pretty darn impactful here from the Pelican.
Bob just disappears.
Oh man. So if you had Pelican 3K on your bingo card, you can tick that off now. I'm pretty sure all of you do, because that's the one that the league provided. I'm supposed to make a tropical-related pun. I have one prepared for later, so just be listening out.
Is there a bingo card?
There is a bingo card for the June Joust. You should see your one. It's hilarious.
What is mine?
I'm not going to ruin it for you. Let Matt know. Wrong answers only, chat. Let Matt know what is on the bingo card. All right, 8.7 seconds remain for the 11. That's a little miffed. I mean, I kind of forgot, I'll be honest with you. I'm just covering it up a little bit, but all right. NYXL here, 3 minutes. No, not really. It's not very memorable,
I would have remembered yours.
No, you would have, but then you would have lied about it anyway. That's the difference.
Yeah. Oh, I create a masterpiece.
There we go.
There we bring out the drawing kit again.
We need to untellustrate him, Matt. I think that's what we need here. Because tell us what NYXL are going to do. They've got 3 minutes here to work with, but the Reign play a little far forward off this platform. Interesting setup. This is different.
Yes, the Reign, they'll actually let New York in here. So you do have a switch up.
Oh, what?
That is crazy. As you are playing the D.Va here for Atlanta, so they're not playing double shield, they're playing the Orisa with the D.Va. You don't actually mind them if they come in to try and play a little bit close, because if NYXL goes towards that point and tries to push it with the double shield, you have Hawk on the D.Va who can navigate the high ground, put pressure onto Flora and on the Feather.
Mate, I didn't think that was the kind of spam that Pelican came to Hawaii for, but I've been wrong before. He is just spraying constantly. Oh, okay, well, that'll happen sometimes. The inevitable Hangzhou random headshot. Flora may have been aiming for his target. He may not have been. We'll never know. Either way, there has to be rest here. But the Reign, look, they're playing a passive style that you didn't like from New York, but they're doing it safely. They're playing around the edges here.
New York is also not getting aggressive and trying to play off of some of these advantages. So you're not... Atlanta, you've done your job and taken both points, right? And finished with time. New York had 3 minutes on the clock.
I have a bad feeling.
1 minute 40. Yeah,
oh, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. This could go so badly for the NYXL, Matt. The Dragon Strike gets used on the assumption that the Atlanta Reign are playing in that right side room here from this perspective. They're not. They're on the left-hand side. It's just a duplicated supercharger sat there. The NYXL misread that.
And I wonder why they come out and play this after they looked so good with the Winston-based comp. Like, they rolled them with that Winston-based comp against something pretty similar to this. The only change is Hawk here on the D.Va. I think NYXL, when they are decisive and they decide and they go and they commit, that's when they've looked great. It's when you kind of have this indecision here where you're not playing for position, right? We're just kind of seeing where you can go and what can happen. Like, they're not really trying to take control of anything.
Kai very low here. Feather trying to chase down, follow up on that a little bit, but the healing is there from Masa. Bob gets deployed to the point there, and Feather's frustrated. Can't find too much there, hoping for something with the self-destruct. He gets a supercharger. That's it. He's forced back, but the cavalry arrives. Yakup's on
But
the high
now you
ground,
want to
so
play
the
for
rest of
high
the
ground.
NYXL.
Like you could have come out and tried to play for this high ground, you know, a minute ago. You know, now you brought yourself down to 15 seconds on the clock, and you're losing players.
Flora absolutely wilts. Brought back to life by Friday here, but the NYXL are running out of time. It has to be an immortality field used on the high ground. They can't even save that for the point. They won't have it up in time for when they actually need to capture. Pelican, yeah, steps back and sits on the point. That was strange stuff from the NYXL.
Yeah, as Yakpung went to go fall, he's so weak. They can't keep him alive. And you got to see New York come out and be more decisive on where they want to go, what they want to fight for. Right there, they spent so much time, they're just kind of poking and prodding, and they weren't making anything happen on the map. They weren't forcing Atlanta to react. New York really needs to commit to something. I want to see them actually go back to that Winston-based composition. They look quite good against Atlanta's double shield.
Listen, Matt, the June Joust finals, there's no place for the meek, the timid, or the second guessers, and the NYXL right now look a little unstable. Their time's running out to come up with an answer. One more map, otherwise they are headed to the lower bracket. Not where they want to be at this stage in the June Joust. The rain looks strong. Let's see what map number 3 has to offer in a few moments.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. And by NetApp, the official data management partner of the Overwatch League.
That's right, the Angel of Death is here. Get yourself the new Widowmaker Legendary skin now through June 21st for just 200 League tokens. No, she won't step on you, but she will make you look good when you get out there shooting heads in ranked, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have our June Joust skin finally announced. I tried to shake Matt down for info about it, and he was just, he clammed up. Yeah, Fort Knox about it, wouldn't tell me a thing. Thought, mate, guess not. Unlucky.
This skin is so sick, though. I was playing some ranked yesterday, and I selected Widowmaker the entire time, even when it wasn't really needed.
Oh, that's weird. You wouldn't do that normally. It's just the skin that made you do that.
But everybody loved it because they had this skin. We can take a look at your power rankings here with IBM Watson.
You were in RP lobby. Let's be real.
Pelican. Oh yeah, I was in the one where you Kings Row and you can.
Yeah, you have a job. You go to the and you earn money.
Yeah, and you earn money.
I love workshop.
You see, it's pretty much the Dallas Fuel and Pelican. Just kind of at the top of our power rankings. As he's been sick, Hawk on there as well, sneaking his way up.
Yeah, I mean, these two got catapulted, I think, into this top 10 after an incredible performance recently. Here it is. It's Glitz Clam. It's the PC setup here in Hawaii for your Atlanta Rain. Big shout out to...
they didn't get the Danny Lim setup there with the beach and the...
Oh no, I've told, and Danny obviously has like a space where he casts from. Yeah, just off camera's like a bunch of surfboards. So the vibe is still there, you know what I mean? Big shout out to the fam out there at the University of Hawaii Manoa. Big fan of y'all. Great to be partnered up with them again here for the June Joust, and it's Numbani time, Matthew. And, well, it's go time for the NYXL. They're going to have to come up with something right now, otherwise it's lower bracket time for them.
I feel like we have seen them, though, play compositions, at least in this series, that it looks like they can contend with teams like the Atlanta Rain on. Really kind of curious of why they went for the double shield on their second offensive attack after making, the Winston-based compositions work really well on their first one. Maybe this is a map that they go back to some of that Winston-based stuff.
I mean... It definitely looked like it had some legs against the Atlanta Rain when they had to pull it out for the NYXL. I can't quite put my finger... I think if I asked our compatriots who, often work the APAC games, if they could put their finger on the NYXL's comp, they'd probably give a similar answer. It's probably been a little bit tough to do. They've been playing a ton of different stuff. Look, it says a lot about the region and just how dynamic you have to be to succeed in the APAC region. It seems like the NYXL has made through here, showing us tons of different looks, and neither of them we can really, definitively say, this is NYXL, this is their specialty, this is what they bring. The fact is, Matt, they're going up against a very well-honed Atlanta Rain strategy here, right? Often around the Orisa Sigma, but with tweaks like the Diva. You definitely want the Diva here with that mobility on attack. Atlanta have just made this look incredibly good, and they've beaten the very best in the West with this team.
Right, a lot of people who obviously follow APAC and covered it really expected the Hangzhou Spark to be here. They go undefeated in the June Joust and the qualifiers. They look tremendous, but New York handed them a big L, in the knockouts. So it's going to be the NYXL playing the Winston-based composition on D, which is what they looked good in. But now you have even a stronger bunker comp being built here by the Atlanta Rain. Kai on the trusted and true Torbjorn.
Well, for the NYXL, this may as well be Normandy Beach, because that is not the kind of comp you want to dive on. Flora gets taken down early. He's held in place by the looks of things, and Pelican finishes the job. That's Master sallying forth with a shield bash that sends the NYXL reeling.
Well, this tests their dive. Really heavy. This is brutal to go into. Is they are not able to get to the point. Okay. That's a beautiful. That's a bash by Masa on the Yakumo as he was coming in to prevent him from getting onto the point that last second. Now, what do you go to though? If you're New York, the tough thing is though here, Mitch. Atlanta can stay on this. This is a composition you can continue to run. If New York makes changes, you're going to lose out here in this, street space of the map. most likely you end up losing towards the end because there's not a heavy investment from the Atlanta Reign through this phase. So New York, for now, looks to be staying on this. You probably stay on it till at least you get this Coalescence and use it and get a try to break this setup.
I'd rather swan dive in a septic tank than to have to jump onto the composition that the Reign are playing right now. It's brutal. Look at how much damage Yakpong's already taken. They need the Coalescence to even get off the starters blocks, but eventually, be it begrudgingly, they go. Coalescence comes back from the Reign, though. They get it just in time, as some of them are looking a little worse for wear. And Molten Core is now available here for Kai. And the NYXL are pushed around the corner. They are all forced to play around the ball here, but Pelican takes it by the horns. That's a Death Blossom for 2. Oh, the NYXL, they are in deep, deep trouble.
But this composition for Atlanta plays into the things that New York does not... Like, New York doesn't want to be the one that sets the pace and the tempo. They're very reactive. With
Stiff biscuits! They have to!
They have to. They have to. Because if you don't ever engage, the Atlanta Reign are going to sit on the cart and they're going to say, push us off, muscle us off. They're trying to go in here with a sound barrier. This will be a rally popped by Masa.
Molten Core, perfect ultimate if you want to try and get this card across the line. Bianca constantly being singed as he's the one that's been called on to try and keep this card from going across the line. Kai does go down to the self-destruct with Gator. Masa looking very healthy still. Masa repositions here and he's ready to juggle the juggler at this stage. A lot of Inspire procs there as eventually the Reign just grind it out. The NYXL yet to come up with an answer to this filthy composition.
New York is so... This is confusing me so much. And I'm going even back to Anubis. You run this composition, it works on Anubis, and then your second go around you don't run it. And then here, you're committing so heavily to it against a composition that's really built to just roll through this. It's a very odd choices coming in from NYXL here.
Death Blossom and Hawk not able to cover up much of that damage there from Flora. He gets desuited, but with a self-destruct, able to get rid of Friday, and this might be about to turn around. Kai pushes forward. It's a rivet to the dome there for Flora as he's sent packing. And this is it, the Reign. This is about as rushy as they look. They're still playing together as a death ball, though.
This is one of the tankiest compositions you can build. You have the armor with the Orisa and the Diva. Kai, when he pops the Molten Core, he gains the armor, becomes really tanky. Reaper as well.
Oh, God.
And the Brig, this will be a Supercharger rally here for the Atlanta Reign.
Gator protecting the Supercharger with his shield, not his team. That's how important that damage amplification is to them right now, and there's nothing, not a thing the NYXL can do about it. Absolutely stumped are they. Here's the Atlanta Reign. They imperiously cruise around the corner into the end of the map with 3 minutes and 34 to spare.
And New York, I think they commit the entire map once they commit to that through the streets phase. That's really when they decide that this is the comp we're going to roll with till the end. Not the right decision, though. Atlanta, perfectly executed. I bet you that was probably something they had mentioned during the break, the small break there where we were just looking at Danny's feet on the beach, where they probably discussed, like, hey, if they come out and play that Winston-based composition, which we haven't seen them play a ton of, let's not opt for a double shield setup. Let's opt for something very bunkery, which they probably have not played against and have not seen.
Yeah, because it's not double shield. It has the Torb, no Echo. No Echo, by the way, which is really unheard of. In fact, Dallas have never done that in this tournament cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the Batiste and Mercy, it's kind of... We don't really have an archetype name for it outside of Divers at Your Own Peril. But here's something a bit more standard from Atlanta now, Matthew. So Pelican is on the Echo, not the Reaper. And they're playing the Orisa.
See them change. I wonder if, like, let's say they lose here, because this is the composition. Well, this is actually the variation of it that they ran on Anubis that ended up working out for them when they actually had the even mix as opposed to having the Sigma. I wonder if this does not work, though. We see them opt for that Torbjorn setup as New York trying to push in here, go towards that high ground.
Hawk's trying to get information and limit the amount of damage he takes.
They're just building a coalescence. I mean, this is... Yeah, they're just building a coalescence here. They're not really trying to do anything until Jonak gets it. So
it's almost like the Rain know this, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
they know
this. Pelicans are already at a duplicate. All of the damage going in there is Pelican. Feather, I mean, look at 30%. They're going to be surprised that Pelican has a duplicate, probably.
Copies D.Va. Coalescence could get some value here, but the Rain falls back around that corner and they deal with Flora. They kind of disengage that self-destruct. Oh my god, Pelican chasing him down. The NYXL have lost Flora, and their front line is looking battered and bruised right now. Gators back in the fight. It just gets worse and worse for New York.
That time, though, they allow Pelican to get that duplicate early. He is just wonderful use of the defense matrix when he's on the D.Va. A lot of times it's just another self-destruct out there, but he legitimately is like another off-tank player out there. New York trying to go low here. This is not kind of the composition you would really
go with a dive
with. Yeah, as they back out immediately, and now we'll see them try and go towards the street.
Okay. They are wavering, a little uncertain. Who are they diving? Probably Iris, but there's the Coalescence there from Jonak. Iris is going to go for that Immortality Field. He's barking out orders to the rest of his team, but Yakpong's already been dispatched of. Bianca is now the only one that can access Iris's position, and it's not enough stopping power.
But look at how deep you are. I mean, they're not putting any pressure on the point, so there's no reason for like Gator or Hawk to have to go, stay on the point and defend. It's just basically a team fight that takes place right in front of the Atlanta Reign spot. Like, even if New York comes out on top, like let's say in a player advantage there, they still have to double back to the point. By the time they get on the point, Atlanta's going to be respawning, and they're going to get another fight there. So I understand the need to try and get Kai out of position and push him back. I just think there's probably you can do it with a little bit less of a commitment.
I mean, there's careful, and then there's dithering, and I can't tell how close to that end of the spectrum the NYXL are right now, because they again have to disengage. They back up from the air matrix there.
Because sometimes they really push the issue and they go like that time, but sometimes they look so timid. This will be a big push though. This will be a sound barrier that comes through for New York. You'll probably have Yakpong also end up using his primal during this. Is New York throwing everything at this fight.
Bob there deployed. Flora just Wraith walks past him. Teleport to the high ground. Iris is down. No one's capturing the point just yet. It'll be a shield dance briefly for Gator, but he really can't hold up 1v1 against the Reaper. Some stole here might go a long way.
At least Flora put pressure on the point, though. Oh, no. Who's Yakpong? Anyone even touch here for Atlanta? No. Hawk will end up getting demacked. But at least you had Flora put pressure on the point. He puts pressure on the point and forces Gator to stand there. He can't go back and fortify and shield and do all do all the things that Arisa is able to really disrupt.
We're on the road, man. That's a Coalescence early here. Okay, so the Rain not fully set up here, and the NYXL spot an opportunity to win a fight. I guess that stops the Rain from contesting en masse. I don't know if it stops them entirely, though. Master's pretty happy just topping everyone up and waiting for reinforcements here. Good hold on Bianca on the high ground. Flora has to Wraith early. Nice bubble. That was really well put down by Yakpong to support the Reaper. And that's a cleaner fight win there for New York.
And Atlanta's going to make some changes. Pelican will end up using his self-destruct. He'll get one. They're going to res Iris.
Okay.
Maybe they're able to make it, but you see Kai, he's gonna play the Torb here. I think you'll probably see Pelican switch to the Reaper once he goes back to his spawn.
Where's Gator? I think they just need that main tank there, and then this is on like Donkey Kong. Kai's here. Hawk. And Gator. So the whole zoo's arrived now. Is where it gets serious.
They failed to get all grouped up and get this coalescence. This also allows Atlanta to get set up.
Yes, they reposition just to pick off the Torb turret first. Very methodical. NYXL. There's a Coalescence here for Jonak, so he'll want long sight lines like this one. Good dive there from Yakpong, and here's the fight. Pelican gets caught. Jonak is able to beam him down. Pelican's getting pulled back into the fight, though, and that self-destruct creates plenty of space. Hawk is going to sit on the cart for the time being. Sticky Bombs makes that a little bit harder. Looks like Pelican gets caught, but is able to duplicate into a D.Va very quickly. Molten Core can be used, but it's unclear how effective it will be because Fedor's causing so many problems, and that remet kill has got to seal the deal, Matt.
Yeah, you just save it. Pelican with a self-destruct there at the end, but you save the Molten Core. Iris will now go over to the Moira. You're going to have the Brig come into play. Pelican probably goes to Reaper. This is kind of the composition with the Reaper in the mix. And you can play for the clock. Yeah, there's the switch from Pelican. 2 minutes on the clock here to get this across the line. Third point. If you have one good hold from Atlanta and force New York to use some of these ultimates, you're in a good spot to get this hold.
That shield doesn't last long. That Molten Core, as you mentioned, is held. 1 minute 45 on the clock here. Again, the NYX back up there. They're so positioning oriented, this New York's team. And look, they make it look good. They're very coordinated. They're looking for a weakness. Some kind of weakness here on the side of the Atlanta Reign. So far, they get rid of the Torp turret and the Supercharger. It's a good start, but some bodies need to be hitting the floor in a moment. And that's it. Floor is able to get the Death Blossom on Kai. He's caught sort of looking a little bit awkward. Mid-Molten Core there.
Now you might be able to do this if you're New York. You're going to have the self-destruct clear point out. Your biggest worry here is Iris getting that coalescence, but New York, they push up. They want to try and block the door.
Iris has the coal. He's going to make his way out. Kai there on the other side, going to be a little bit on his own here, but the coalescence keeps him topped up. Yakpung takes a smattering of damage as he's forced to take steps back. And again, look at NYXL. This is another disengagement, essentially play back behind Yakpung, but he's too low to dive. They've got to go.
Yeah, they're trying to farm up this coalescence, and the rally comes through from Masa. Look at how aggressive Atlanta's trying to get. They actually split New York off. So New York will come back now, though, with this Jonak coalescence trying to extend the series.
Hawk just trying to be patient here, play back a little bit. Orisa barrier still in play, and Flora's forced to use a Wraith Walk to the back line. This will slow things down a little bit for New York. Feather can't get a new mech and that duplicate there, and he could be in trouble. Shield bashed instantly. And here's a sound barrier for the NYXL. That was Pelican's self-destruct, necessitating the Lucio ultimate from New York. That's Flora's Death Blossom, looking pretty darn good there. It's in the name, I suppose. Yakpung and Flora looking to get their team across the line, and they do that. It's a minute to work with for New York.
Yeah, the sound barrier there from Friday was the difference towards the end. Gave them the sustainability to get through the Death Blossom that Pelican dropped there. So you did have, I believe, a supercharger used by Gator, too. Still, only a minute on the clock. We know how slow New York operates. This is going to put a lot of pressure on them to go and go fast.
And, of course, it's a time extension for the Atlanta Reign as the NYXL finish the map with under a minute left. New York really...
4 minutes, 19 seconds is an eternity for...
If that was an organic push time, it would be like... It'd be up there. It'd be one of the faster times we've seen on this map. New York is so interesting, Matt, because they've demonstrated that they're very good at this little push-pull game. They try and sort of maybe bait some aggression. They disengage as a unit. Friday seems to really be coordinating, the use of the speed boost on this team. So it's quite elegant to watch the NYXL sort of, poke and prod, back away, and then fully commit. But there's no easy way of fully committing it against Atlanta Reign's composition. They're still getting success. A lot of it seems to come from, when those big Reaper ultimates come out, or there's like a big duplicate from Feather. But however you get the job done, that's fine. I just love how NYXL are setting up for these fights. Unfortunately, Matt, pound for pound, they still look weaker. They still look like they lack the stopping power. So now with 1 minute to go, they have to bring that out in full force.
Yeah, so they have no choice but to go here and get aggressive. They're going to play with that Winston-based composition. Atlanta, they don't play the Torbjorn Reaper at the start. Maybe they feel like there's other compositions that New York can pull out that are a little bit more niche that could take advantage of that setup.
Kai pressured, Yakpung, short-lived there. Damage boosted, of course, is Kai. And there was plenty of involvement from Gator there with the Hulk. Never going to be easy for the NYXL, they knew that. And Kai, oh my, finds himself 3 and it's back to the sky.
Yes, and now this is just desperation for New York. So you want to try and get at least a tick on the point to give yourself a chance as Jonak will go over to the Ana here. So Ana Lucio, last moment. See if it'll be Bianca to get a touch.
He does, then backs away on that right-hand side. It'll still be up to Bianca to contest, and that mech has run its course. Again, Yakpung tries to dive to the high ground, gets hit with a face full of sticky bombs, and now he's looking at himself in the mirror, except it's him, younger. better looking and bigger muscles. You hate to see that. Jonak now going to be jogging into the corner, into oblivion, and now Pelican returns valiantly to the point. And there won't be much more here for the NYXL.
He is legitimately another tank.
Yep.
Like when we have other Echoes at duplicate, you know, they don't have that ability. Like you saw his primal rage there. You know, if you were just looking at the overhead map, like his positioning, you would think he's like Gator with the way he's playing it. But he is your flex DPS.
But this is what I'm telling you. Pelican primarily is duplicating Hawk, a Diva or another tank of some sort. He has the highest number of duplication kills. So, you know, he is duplicating these tanks, and he is getting the most amount of kills in the league as those tanks. So sometimes he's just outdoing. You know, when he gets the copy of Winston, then that team has Winston, Orisa, and Diva, everything you'd really ask for. That's the danger that Pelican brings. He's aggressive, you know, in Echo form, but when he duplicates, you know, he's looking for a kill. He's not looking to displays. He's not looking to, you know, zone. He's looking to secure eliminations.
So your best case here for New York is a draw. So trying to get a draw here for the NYXL to keep the series alive. So it is not a good spot to be in if you're New York.
4-19, that is...
Well, it's brutal. I mean, staring down the barrel, that's tough.
And again, like you highlighted so many times in the first round, New York don't have the option to just back away and give space. They have to engage. They have to push Atlanta. Atlanta will just walk in. They'll just move into their house. All of a sudden, it'll be like really bad, like vinyls playing and old band posted on the walls. They're going to ruin the whole decor of the place. They have, the NYXL, they have to take control of the situation, man. And that means they have to be aggressive.
Yes, I mean, all the time in the world for the Atlanta Reign. As Atlanta, they can hold on to these ultimates. They can, you know, force New York to use stuff. The only difference we see here for New York is they'll have the Ashe in the mix. They won't go for like a Batiste. They'll actually play Jonak on the awning. So maybe like heal a little bit more for distance. Maybe that biotic grenades.
It's fan service.
He gets taken out by Kai.
It's just fan service at this point, Matt. There's a chance for Friday to bring Jonak back into the fight here. Again, you're not dealing with an enemy Winston, so you probably get some decent value out of the Ana if she's not going to be tested that heavily, but that wasn't proven to be the case. Kai just picks him up across the map. Gator here just studiously plugging away with the fusion driver, and that's going to be it. That is the NYXL. It's an ignoble end for them here in the upper bracket, Matthew, as they, at no stage, really look like they understand how to deal with Atlanta.
Yeah, a bit of a disappointing showing, I think, for New York. At times, they showed that they can win team fights and they can succeed in different variations of the compositions used. But Atlanta, I think, just on another level right now. It's a little bit what we thought coming in, that Atlanta and Dallas could be on another level coming in to the June Joust, you know, the finals here. So we'll see what happens with our next series. But Atlanta makes quick work of the NYXL.
And it's interesting to see both the East and the West regions clash, Matt, because there definitely seem to be much more down the line consensus, you know, from teams about sort of the best way to play. And it depended for some of them on the comfort. Dallas will not play, you know, these sort of double shield setups. Under very few circumstances do they go that. Maybe on Havana, which is, to my understanding, not even in the pool right now. The Atlanta Reign, they can tangle with you on the Lucio Moira stuff, and they will play it often on control. But when it comes to the payload-based maps or Temple of Anubis, as we saw, they want to play Orisa. They want to flex Hawk between Sigma and the Diva, and they want to get the most value out of Kai being just a literal aim god, and Pelican being able to copy tanks, play tank better than any other tank in the league right now. And our player of the match presented by Xfinity here for this one is Pelican, because the performance that we kind of hyped up delivered today. Again, #1 in duplication kills. It doesn't matter what hero he's copying, he will get value. Hell or high water, man, he'll get value.
With the way he plays tank with these ultimates and obviously the short bursts, he looks like he could play it at a top level. As just being able to burst players down in the Echo, the ultimate timing is perfect regardless of who he's duplicating. We talked a little bit about it, you know, on Flat Chat, even I think a lot of others in the community. Like he seems like he is the best Echo right now by far. As He has really been dominant on the hero.
Yeah, and we talk often about the Echo matchups, the Echo v Echo stuff, but Pelican showed that he really wanted to make his mark, even on the Reaper here when this was Atlanta playing that Torbjorn setup, so that means it's one of the few times where Pelican, not Edison, will play Reaper on this team. The guy's insane. It's 2 deaths per 10 minutes. A paltry 2 deaths per 10 minutes.
It's not surprising with the way the series was.
It's absurd. The average is like 4.5, Matthew.
Yeah, it was a pretty one-sided affair, and he is up in the sky putting all the damage down. So not too surprising to see him have this type of performance here.
I mean, very impressive stuff from Pelican, and he's going up against, in the upper bracket, either like Sparkle or Doha, of course, as he sometimes plays the Echo, or Fleta, right? So there are world-class Echo opponents waiting for him in this bracket, and I still think you're crazy to bet against Pelican in these situations. Now, I kind of predicted that Dallas Fuel would probably come out on top here, but there's a lot to still be decided. And let's be honest, the East's #2 seed does not hold a candle to the West's #1 seed so far. It is quite a gulf between the two of them, I'll be honest with you. I'm interested to hear on some insights from Hawk, and we'll be back in a moment, of course, and then we'll hear from Hawk as the Atlanta Reign move on in the upper bracket of the June Joust.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined now by Hawk from Atlanta. Rain, congratulations on the win today. Yay! Hawk, congrats.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, all right. So, let's start off with this first question. Although you guys were the clear winners of today's match, the fans were really surprised by NYXL's adaptation. How did you guys prepare against your match against the NYXL? Because, you guys can't really scrim or practice against APAC teams.
We didn't really know what they're going to play. Like, we had an idea from what they played in their Spark match, but they surprised us today with the ball comp on Lijiang, and we adapted mid-map for it. And we didn't have much scrim time, so they had like all week to practice, and we just won. I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, you guys still got the win, so big congratulations again. And also, the next match that we have is going to be against Shanghai Dragons versus Dallas Fuel. Who do you think is going to win that match and become your next opponent, and why?
I think there's a lot of like rock paper scissors type comps. So if Shanghai is able to successfully counter the rush or somehow have a better rush, I think they could win. But Dallas Fuel in matches just seems to up the tempo and clutch it out. So I'm gonna go Dallas.
You're gonna go Dallas? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, since you chose Dallas, I actually want to follow up with another question. I think it's safe to say that Dallas is, a team that's sort of, they have been using that Lucio Mura comp a lot, and they're sort of the masters of it because they solely rely on that specific rush comp. And none of the teams in NA currently has, quote unquote, broken the code yet. Do you see any weakness, in Dallas Fuel currently?
Like I said earlier, if you're able to counter the dive, like today we played Torb Brig, that might be able to work against them. But I don't know yet. We'll just find out. We'll see. So far, it's worked pretty well for us, but I don't know Shanghai's specific adaptations, and we'll just see.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for the interview. Hawk, thank you so much, and let's head back to the desk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. Welcome back to our desk for our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. Let's take a look at the bracket right here as Atlanta, with this victory, is moving on and are now waiting for their next opponent, which we will determine in just a little bit. And very interesting insight here. I really want to discuss almost what he just said, because it kind of sounded like I was just going to see what the Shanghai Dragons are now going to do against the Dallas Fuel, and then we're going to copy their homework in case it works and just implement that into our play. But also, last time we talked to them, I think it was Gator, who claimed that they never played the rush comp, but then they looked really expertly at it. So can't trust those guys. Yeah, we don't believe them. They're lies. So Atlanta Reign taking this series. But before we're singing them praise, I do want to quickly hit on New York Excelsior, because I do feel like we saw a lot more compositions and adaptation than we initially thought we would see from them, Costa.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting. It's sort of a breath of fresh air. I was expecting NYXL to come in and sort of stick to their guns with their Orisa comps, because that's what they were the most successful on. But they actually took a page from the Western region's book and came out with the Lucio Moira, gave it a little bit of their own twist, playing a little bit of wrecking ball with it. And I thought they were very competitive against the Atlanta Reign, which was great to see. I was like, hey, maybe New York can sort of get an edge in this. And then we went to Anubis, and they did a phenomenal job catching the Atlanta Reign flat-footed on the double shield when they played the rush. But that's where it started to unravel. Atlanta Reign obviously very successful on their attacks with their double shield, but NYXL just not committing to that rush on Anubis was such a confusing thing for me, because they looked and got so much success from it thus far, and then they forced it onto Numbani. I think at that point they didn't have an answer, they didn't want to go into the mirror, and I think that became more evident as time went on, and they got a little bit of success, but New York just falling a little bit flat. With that said, you can't take anything away from the Atlanta Reign. They looked very good, and I actually really love their adaptation of comp with the Torb, as Hawk just said.
Yeah, that was spectacular. And that Torbjorn came into play. That is a pick that we expected going into this weekend. Because even the best team that played Lucio Moira, Dallas Fuel, they struggled against that Torbjorn last week when they played the LA Gladiators. And this is the adaptation we're now seeing from these Orisa compositions. Atlanta Reign, they happily put Kai on that Torbjorn on 2 maps in today's initial series. And this is what I'm expecting from both the Atlanta Reign and the Shanghai Dragons as they take on opponents like the Dallas Fuel and the York Excelsior when they play this faster composition for the rest of the tournament. It's going to be very deciding hero throughout this entire weekend. So keep your eye out for more Torbjorn coming out this weekend. Very excited by Atlanta Reign's play overall. Pelican was a standout player, as they've already mentioned on the cast as well at the niche. So very impressive initial showing from the Atlanta Reign this weekend, Zoe.
What a timeline we're living in, where Torb is the unironic pick to win those matches. Okay,
Finally.
why not?
Finally!
Finally! We've waited for years, now it's come to that. Well, it is now time for Crunch Time presented by Cheesy Grooves, and I want to talk about this rivalry between the Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons. Currently, it's 2-0 for Dallas Fuel this season, so can Shanghai crunch today and fight back reinforced?
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. Obviously, this is a rivalry we're now hyping up because these were the 2 best teams in the May Melee tournament. And it's also a match between what I would like to call the 2 best teams from the respective region. On the North American side, you have the Dallas Fuel, who have been dominant in the May Melee, and they continue to bring this ferocious aggression with their play, keep taking so many fights. And then you have the Shanghai Dragons. They have been the team in APAC that have adapted the fastest to these compositions. They are the team that play at a consistent elite level over in APAC. So this is a fantastic rivalry between 2 very good teams. And as you said, can Shanghai Dragons bring it now to Dallas Fuel? It's going to be very tough. Dallas Fuel, in my opinion, they are the favorites in this matchup because they're so fast, they're so unpredictable. How do you prepare for the Dallas Fuel? But Shanghai Dragons, as me and Kostla we covered in the pre-show, they consistently bring it in big playoff moments. They were very competitive in 2020, won multiple stage titles, and now they've been in 2 stages in 2021 as well. I'm expecting great things from the Shanghai Dragons, even though the Dallas Fuel are favored here.
Yeah, I'm definitely very interested to see what they have in store for us. I mean, the 2 things we so far established is maybe play Torb or just play better LOL. That's as far as we got with downloading the Dallas Fuel. Now, let's head on over to our casters, Uber and Mr. X. Everyone on the desk went Dallas Fuel, but we all also hyped up the Shanghai Dragons. How close of a match do you expect this one to be?
I'm not sure it'll be that close, to be honest. We haven't seen Shanghai play any type of aggressive style comp that New York just like kind of tried. They've been relying on a lot of, whether it's Orisa Diva, Orisa Sigma type of compositions. And if they can't make that work against Dallas, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And we haven't seen anybody make that work against Dallas. I think their just aggression is overwhelming. So I actually like the Dallas Fuel in this series in a big way. I do think Shanghai is a really strong team. I think this is just a great moment and kind of meta for the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, I think that this meta suits Fate, I think, pretty well. I actually think he looks quite good in this setup. And I think his evidence, was Johnny or Custer showed how he'd risen up the ranks so far since the start of the season. But the only team that Dallas lost to was actually the San Francisco Shock in the June Joust. And San Francisco played a lot of that Lucio Moira stuff against them. I think Dallas have run the gauntlet of like all the best aggressive teams. They dealt with the Mayhem, they dealt with the Shock, who looked quite good at points. So they're primed to take on this matchup, and I think it'll take more than Torbjorn to stop them, I'll be honest. I think that might even look gimmicky against the Dallas Fuel. Something like that.
I have a follow-up question. Do you guys think, we just saw the NYXL adopt the Lucio Moira, do you think there's a world in which Shanghai tries to go toe-to-toe with the Dallas Fuel in this composition? And if so, do you think it's wise?
I don't think they should. I think they might. I think it would be like, I don't think you pick that composition up in 5 days and just pull it out here against the Dallas Fuel. If you got here running what you got here, you may as well go down running what you got instead of trying last minute. I mean, what a panic situation that would be. It's like you qualify and then you're like, all right, guys, we got 5 days to figure this out. Everybody start playing. That is no way to go out here. I think you go out, you go out with what you got here.
In fairness, Lee Jae-gon broke records, obviously, for the amount of environmental kills in a map/series. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Control has in store for us. That is probably where Shanghai get to, show a little bit more of that stuff, and then maybe they go back to the Orisa-based compositions. Matt, we will have this conversation, but we have to cut away from the desk right now. For some reason, they want to put us.
I like talking. Yeah,
they
want to. They're such. They're nice. I know. Yeah. You usually don't, but that's why we like you, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Johnny usually calls him while he's grilling from the rooftop. Like, oh, what's up, man? Oh, yeah. Let me join this Twitter space. What are you guys doing? Listen, I think
Silver Spoon Reinforce. Only can chat from his convertibles and his rooftop while he's barbecuing.
You can't keep doing this. You can't keep telling everyone your colleagues are so wealthy, Matt. It just doesn't work. This one here, though, I think if you want to talk about embarrassment of riches, Matt, I mean, these two teams, they definitely don't need to take showers. They take baths all the time. You know all about that, I'm sure, Mr. Long Island. I think these two teams have everything they need now to exemplify their particular styles, right? If you're looking at, throughout the world for, maybe some of the best teams at these comps, Dallas definitely, I think in the Lucio Moira setup, and the Shanghai Dragons, maybe. We saw the Atlanta Reign look amazing in Orisa competitions here. The Shanghai Dragons are going to have to show something special to do with Dallas, I think, in this current meta. And I don't think what we see in the first map will necessarily tell us the whole story, because, of course, Control requires its own sort of compositions, and teams do play more aggressive here. But let's have a look at the Dallas Fuel map. Let's reacquaint ourselves with our May Melee champions on their second trip to Hawaii, no less. This is a squad to be reckoned with now. Fearless, Matt maybe has a little bit less kill potential as Winston in this current meta, but he still looks incredibly good in that main tank position. And you can see, he's ranked number 1 in tanks. Doha's ranked number 2. Oh, by the way, that's because Sparkle's ranked number 1. I mean, this team is just...
Jexa's really holding this team back. Number 3. I mean, no, they've been dominant. Somebody asked if they were going to play Pine this weekend. And I don't think so. I think this would be a terrible way to integrate Pine into the lineup. But they have the... And look, you've been rolling with this 6. Continue to play with it. You don't necessarily need a hit scan. I think that's been proven by the Dallas Fuel early on in this season, as they lose Xe, and now they've signed Pine, but we haven't seen him yet. Shanghai starting lineup, nothing too surprising either. They do have some new player signings.
Develop.
But I don't expect them to see yet develop Who Are You recently. We'll see Fleta Lip in the starting lineup today. Not a bad DPS combo by any stretch of the imagination. I think the one knock you can maybe have on Fleta is he's not as aggressive as some of these other players, on the Echo. Not that much of a playmaker in that regard. But when you have Lee Jae-gon going for boops galore, you don't exactly need.
Right, that's actually been Fleta's story since the beginning of his stint in the league. In fact, even before that. As a player on even flashlights. He was always, especially as a widow. I remember when season 1 we had this narrative. It was like Linksa and Fleta. And the origin of the Fleta deadlift story. But Fleta was always a player that was pretty safe, pretty self-sufficient. Was never, never was gripped by bloodlust and would go charging in or trying to go for flashy stuff here. That's the kind of consistency that wins you MVPs, as we now know. This Shanghai Dragons team obviously still feeling the sting from their losses against the Dallas Fuel in the May Melee, and they're here for revenge. This map pool will be interesting. It's loser's pick, and there are some maps that Dallas look a little weaker on with this composition. Dorado is one that comes to mind, where they sort of have to try to use the Genji if the enemy team, uses Widow on defense. So there are opportunities here to try and punish that lack of hit scan, but you're right, Dallas don't need it. It is loser pick in the map pool here, so it's not like your regular matches where the map pool's already predetermined. Shanghai can try and game against Dallas's perceived weaknesses, man.
Yeah, Shanghai does pick this first map, as they are the higher seed coming in, so they pick Busan. I was going to mention this when we were closing towards the end with the desk, but there's not a ton of maps you pick where you don't value speed and mobility, which you get with a Winston-based composition. You can pick maps that are definitely not good for, Orisa compositions and whatnot, with tons of verticality and, snowbally type alleys, like an Imbani, let's say. But not a lot where you can really punish aggression and dive, where I think that makes it harder for Shanghai, depending on where they want to go. So, Dallas, no surprises here. This is what they'll play most, if not all, of the series. For the Dragons, I wonder if they go with this ball comp, as we saw New York run a variation of this. New York ran it with the Moira in the mix. It's going to be fled on the 76, so they go double hit scan.
This is...
with the Ana.
Philadelphia Fusion tried this as well at multiple occasions, Matt, with the Soldier 76, the Wrecking Ball. It's all good until you get sort of snarled up, sort of on the wrong side of the map here. The 76 always wants to take an off angle, always wants to flank around. So that's always an individual that Dallas can choose to dive on. If Fleta wants to get the most out of the Soldier 76, he might actually have to play contrary to how Soldier will be best suited on this map.
Right, and I kind of understand what Shanghai is trying to do in terms of, if you look at this composition as, okay, you know, they don't have anything long range, they have the Echo up in the sky, we can play the hit scan, take advantage of it, but that's not really the goal of this composition from the Dallas Fuel. They want to pick a target who's, you know, sectioned off from the team and dive them. And Shanghai gives them loads of targets to do that.
It's voluntary.
They go from one side, they go from one side of the map, Dallas, to the other, just charging down players of the Dragons, and the Dragons aren't even able to flip the point. And because they're playing the Ana, right? The Ana is going to play off at a distance with somebody else, so you have one clear dive target at all time, and no real kind of counter dive opportunities. So Fate will go on, get a touch. You can have one player go back for him. It looks like the entire team right now.
They'll be doing that the whole time, mate. It'll be a death ball constantly. I mean, that's a huge pile driver kill, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, that's massive. To get Sparkle, he was pretty low at the beginning. That's a sleep there onto Doha from Lift. So this is starting to work now for Shanghai. Maybe you can make this work when you get control of the point and you can start playing players at a distance and poking from different sides of the map. As you did have the Dallas Fuel end up using their sound barrier during that. So Nano and sound barrier available here for the Shanghai Dragons. For Dallas, you'll have that always important coalescence.
Yeah, potential Nano Visor here for Shanghai. They will be contesting with the coalescence. This is tough for Doha, Matt. Teleporting into the backline, it's pretty telegraphed and very easy for Izzyaki just to hit him with the sleep dart. So, you know, Doha will have to be a little bit more creative about how he... You can't just TP forward like some team, like the Shock, for example, love doing with this setup.
Yeah.
Let's see what Flutter goes for here. He's already looking for that off angle, Matt. Attack visor, here it is. Coalescence is going to be in play, but Fielder knows he has to play out of line of sight. A defense matrix gets stuck in Flutter's face, but he puts the biotic field down, and now a Primal Rage Winston wards him away. It's not enough, though. Hanmin goes down to the self-destruct, and Flutter is there to test, strips off of Fearless. He pops out a Primal Rage form, and as the smoke clears, it's a 1-for-1. It's a big pile driver, but Flutter was not ready for Doha there. Perfect stuff. I said he had to be more creative, Matt, with how he sets up, and that was exactly what he did.
Yeah, and Dallas Fuel flips that. Even with being down in terms of support ultimates, enough to flip their beautiful Primal Rage by Fearless, able to knock Fleta around when he's trying to use that tack visor, as you all bob and mines here for the Dragons. And I think there's variations, we've seen Dallas Fuel at times, they've actually pulled out the Genji. I think this is one where, if you wanted to, you could put Doha on the Echo and put Sparkle on the Genji. Genji obviously very strong against hit scan composition.
Yeah, ordinarily against double sniper or at least a Widow composition, they'll go for it. Here they get a ton of value out of Doha anyway.
But look at this, I mean, you just have Fate on the point. Like providing really nothing for the team in terms of peeling back. And this is the worry a lot of us had about the Dragons. Yes. Could they match this level of aggression? Could they play against this? They try something interesting at the start. Seems like some of the APAC teams, at least for Control, have opted to go towards the Wrecking Ball, at least very early from what we've seen thus far. As it doesn't work out there on our first point. We'll go inside to Mecha Base, though, for our second.
Yeah, so the woes, I think, that we teased out early in the round end up being a problem for Shanghai. They just... It's a pretty big vulnerability and liability of having players that are roles that by design are supposed to be playing individually. You can't be low economy here. This is what Doha does, by the way. So this is still a teleport. Izzyaki, he can't respond to this. No one can really shut this down, and Void's mech was already super low. Easy for Doha.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, there's different things that Dallas Fuel can do. This time they actually bring in the Doomfist. So I was mentioning the Sparkle on Genji, but you can easily put him on Doomfist, as this will be a Orisa setup here for Shanghai. Loads of damage with the Reaper in the 76. 76, though, just a sitting dog. So that'll be Sparkle who goes in, picks him up.
I mean, it doesn't really matter for Sparkle, I think, who he gets, as long as it's not Orisa. Someone gets knocked up against the wall. The displacement hurts almost as much as the insta-kill.
You have the Lucio here for Shanghai. Like, how are you disengaging with this comp? Like,
I don't know.
Against like a Winston D.Va Doomfist with their own Lucio, like, you know, you're not running away with the Orisa. It's and the thing with it is Dallas doesn't care about the shield. Like, they will just push past the shield. It does not matter. This will be the Coalescence. You see the shield quickly gone. Everybody passed it. This will be the Dallas Fuel winning yet another fight here against the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai, with this next go, though, they'll have an Amp Matrix, so you do have some uses for this, right? Amp Matrix with the 76 could really shred at range. You'll have a Supercharger as well. This could force Dallas to hide long enough that you could, like, flip a point. This will be Supercharger first.
Okay, this baits the engagement from Dallas now. They're going to be taking a face full of damage. Jagon, though, a little bit too slow to keep Fate alive. The sound barrier comes just devastatingly too late. Sparkle drops in and then gets on out pretty comfortably. The Dragons, it's back to the drawing board once more, and they have used not one, but two support ultimates in that fight.
Yeah, and you know, they are able to hold on to sound barrier. That's crazy to even think about. Supercharger and then Amp Matrix, and Dallas Fuel didn't even use sound barrier, didn't even use beat. You can see Fleta really hasn't done a ton on Soldier. Been on it the entire time. 70% on the point. He's got 70% on his ultimate.
Doha, it's a second D.Va in play now. And that's a nightmare for Fleta. That means he gets absolutely nothing done. Also for Lip, it makes it very hard for him to penetrate any of these front lines with all this defense matrix in play. Very aggressive stuff from Doha there as he self-destructs, lands himself on the enemy backline, but it's instead Sparkle who falls. And there's Fleta. The pressure for the high ground, the hit scan starting to pay off now. Sound barrier on 3 players. Fearless with the Primal Rage. They do shut Fleta down. He had Tac Visor, but Lip's able to give a good account of himself on the point here. He'll be outnumbered for a time. Wraithwalk buys himself a decent amount, though, and Void's return to help him out. He gets interrupted there by Sparkle, but it'll still be the Dragons getting back in the round.
Yeah, and Dallas gets what they want there. They get to 99%. They end up using the beat and the Primal Rage to extend it. And I wonder if you see Sparkle swap now that they have the Wrecking Ball in play. You can opt to stay on the Doomfist, though. We all know Doomfist can just rocket punch, get a one-shot out of nowhere. In the scenario where you're 99% on the point, you could opt to just keep going for it. You know, one punch onto Izayaki or even a Fleta ends this game in Dallas's favor.
And Dallas still have the anti-ball tech because Doha's the one that switches to the Reaper off the Echo. Despite this, not a great start to the fight there. You see the Sparkle constantly looking for a target. They've already found one.
Sparkle is behind Shanghai at this point, so...
yes.
Nothing
stealthier than a 1,000-pound gauntlet hanging off you.
So they haven't gotten a kill, so not going to be able to, like, you know, spawn camp somebody. But he could come flying over the top here from behind.
It does, but it doesn't exactly look as imposing.
Picks the wrong side.
Yeah, as I thought it would be. Okay, tries for a seismic slam there, gets nothing. Okay, Meteor Strike gets in the kill on Izayaki. That's huge. Nice little finisher shot there, and Sparkle's found himself 2 kills. Yep, all the tech in the wall won't save you there. Sorry, mate, he knows what happened. It doesn't matter. Shanghai are in dire straits here. It really is just fate as he just works his way around the point. Again, that anti-ball tech is there. Doha causing problems. Death Blossom creates that space now. Attack Visor could still be an issue if this Winster Bubble goes down, but Fleta, there's too much to protect the rest of the Dallas Fuel. And now to be Void to dip his toes in, Matt. This is the Dallas Fuel looking mighty fine on Busan.
Clean. And that is a Shanghai Dragons map pick.
Oh, man.
That is the control they wanted to go to. So I think you have to worry with how things have started here for Shanghai. What do they go to in terms of map? It'll be interesting. You know, you play the 76 because he's the most mobile out of the hit scans in the pool, where you know, if you were to go to like an Ashe or a McCree, that becomes even more of a dive target there for the Dallas Fuel. So I think you're going to have to see them try and pull out something like with a Torbjorn if they want to really make an impact in the series.
Good start here for the Dallas Fuel. As we expected, they're sticking to their guns. Now, do the Dragons have a bigger gun? Or a sword? Shurikens? A bow and arrow? Something else they're going to have to find in the bag of tricks here as we head into map 2. Stick around. This is the Overwatch League June Joust.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Oh, talk about a heavy hitter map. Wrap your peepers around this one, mate. This is Void. And wow, MVP finalist in 2020. He's a role star for 2020. That means that carries into this year. 2020 All-Star, May Melee Countdown Cup champion, and of course #1 in total eliminations in the 2020 season. If you're looking for someone to really make a difference as the jack of all trades, Void is your man.
Oh, insane player. I actually thought, I mean, he probably, at least in my opinion, should have been, I thought he was like the MVP last year. I thought he was that good of a player, and I think definitely was like above some of the others in that role of the off-tank, especially on the Sigma and Diva. It'll be Shanghai's map pick. They go to Volskaya. So this can be a little bit more punishing for like dive comps, or you can play some of the Ashe on the high ground, play at a distance. In with our map leaderboard here, presented by Xfinity, it's not been good for Shanghai. So they have to have something here planned specifically to pull out that they can think stops Dallas Fuel's aggression.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this hasn't been historically a bad map at all for Dallas, right? I feel like this is definitely Shanghai trying to choose something that they're more comfortable on, but there's a sense where Dallas can kind of still play much the same way here, maybe with a little bit more finesse when it comes to trying to dig the Shanghai out of defensive positions here. But the Dallas Fuel look like they're very confident. They're in control of their team composition here. Shanghai will likely, Matt, show us something different. It was said that Void's Sigma play specifically is going to be one of their real keys to victory here. And you can see that in the June Joust, these are our out-of-rotation heroes, so that's why we're seeing so much of this Wrecking Ball here. Shanghai persist, though. They go with the legs, the double hit scan set up, but more defensive slanted now with the McCree. And a Wrecking Ball on defense, man. This is, to my eyes, strange. This is what we saw from Paris at times, I think.
Yeah, we've seen Wrecking Ball defenses in our first tournament in the May Melee, and we've seen it on Volskaya. But with the hero pool and kind of everything that's cropped up, we've seen it move away. I'm also interested what the Lucio gives you here for VJ God. Like, what are you getting with the speed? Like, you're gonna try and like run some of these DPS away. As this is an adjustment that I said Dallas Fuel could make. I mentioned it during map 1, but Sparkle on the Genji, if they want to play some of this hit scan stuff, you can definitely play Genji. I'm almost more surprised, Mitch, that if you're Shanghai, you don't run something like a Mercy on defense. Pocket one of these hit scans, being able to have a res if you have one of these players play the point or get dove. The